to suggest, I understand the wording on the paper, in the same way that buildings are sort of bulldozed and highways are built and yours happens to be in the way, do we see a time when certain people who have owned property at the coast and acquired it illegally are going to lose it? Is that the expectation?
That is, those who the operative word is illegal.
Right.
If you have acquired property illegally,
right,
then there must be a process of restitution. It must revert to those who genuinely own it, and you must be dispossessed. As a government, we need to have, or as a country, we need to have the honesty to fess up to the truth. And I know that it's a tall order right now because of the arrangement of the political elite in this country. They are all landowners and past grabbers and etc. So, but what will require though is to continue to press upon the institutions that have the mandate to continue and persons who have the legitimacy, like elected leaders, to continue to pursue this cause.
So, on a personal level, if the whole political, now that you've entered politics, the idea of digging the dirt on one. There was people attempted to dig the dirt on you when you were the Kenya
National Commission on Human Rights.
Right. As a politician, it's going to be impossible for somebody to accuse Hassan Omar of grabbing.
Absolutely, I have no doubt. I think in the strictest sense about what will constitute a massive miscarriage historically, I have not been a violator. I have not been a person who has allocated myself county property or municipal land. So
in that respect, you're clean.
So we come to equating with clean hands, and therefore we have this is the advantage some of us can take by resisting the temptation to go through the political drainage, to being that person who wants to be faithful to the cause and the aspirations of your people.
I'm going to take one particular entity at the coast, that is the Kenya Ports Authority, the great port, the great, for the whole region, forgetting the one that's being built in Lamu, which you might perceive as competition. What about the rot and the corruption that pertains to Mombasa as a port?
I think we need a massive cleanup. Not only of the Mombasa port,
and I'm always aware. I take you on as a politician. I have not heard a politician in my life who hasn't promised a massive cleanup. How does one? You see, one effect a massive cleanup?
You see, what happens is many of us come in with utmost good faith to try and redress and remedy things, and clean up the cause of politics in this country. But what you come and realize eventually is that there are so many conservative forces. And then what happens also as part of the whole team that comes in is co-opted into the same way of doing things. But what we need to do is that we also have to appreciate there are now accountability mechanisms in this country. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Office of the Ombudsperson, and the judiciary, which is, I think, transforming quite rapidly and has capacity for resolution on some of these matters. A police service that we're trying to totally overhaul, an independent office of Director of Public Prosecution. So they are what I call constitutional and circumstantial opportunities. What we need is to have the gut and the courage to pursue it. So therefore, what for me will suffice is to start by first and foremost taking stock at the port. There must be a clear program. In fact, what some of us do intend to do is to introduce a motion that then has the force of law to start a massive exercise of reorganization of the port in a manner that increases its efficiency, does away with the corruption, evaluates and audits the human resource personnel, and then is able to dispense of its services and the equity that is deserved and demanded by the people of Mombasa.
So never again are we going to hear about ferries capsizing, causeways that don't link up. What is the infrastructure of the future under your senatorship?
I think what I've encouraged the governor to do, because I have to work very closely to deliver my mandate with the governor, is to develop a meticulous blueprint for Mombasa in terms of its walkways, highways, waterways, transportation, safety. So therefore, what I know is if we have the blueprint for it, and for the immediate short term, is to ensure that we upgrade the safety standards and invest heavily in terms of safety.
Your county is the county in the public perception of masses of garbage, pornographic syndicates, drug cartels, and you're going to say you're going to clean this up.
Unfortunately, we found it there, and that's the whole commitment as to why some of us were given the kind of mandate to see whether we can come with fresh impetus and fresh ideas to deal with that menace.
But surely there's also a social thing to you as a Muslim. I mean, your whole belief system is extremely challenged by the environment in which you live.
Absolutely.
You should move out, surely, if the Mombasa that's created is not the Mombasa stipulated by your faith.
In fact, I like part of the governor's positioning with respect to the cleanup exercises. It's to build a culture that you should not find it convenient and without any conscience to dispose of garbage on the streets or anywhere that you so desire. So that we want to create that culture. And I think this, as we put it, the dirt or the garbage does not get there itself.
Tourism, modes of dress. When I go to a place like Zanzibar, this idea, there's some person, and then the other person, you've got sort of skimpily lass. This is something that you're going to do nothing about. You don't care what the people on the ground believe in terms of faith.
Mombasa is a predominantly Muslim town. But what happens is there is also a liberal constitution and liberal legislative programs at the national level that makes us part of that dominion called Kenya. Therefore, it will be very difficult to impose any strictures that are outside.
We're not foreseeing Sharia law. For those who might say, Pwani si Kenya, we're not foreseeing that.
Sharia law is a personal faith of individuals, especially in a society that is not itself grounded in Sharia. So it is for the person himself to know that, to restrict his mode of dressing. But you cannot restrict the other through any coercive means to not to dress the way he or she desires. But we would encourage a level of decorum and decency, especially with respect to the belief system. We see this everywhere in the world, where people know that I'm going to Saudi Arabia, I'm going to Iran, I'm going to a certain community which has a certain value. Right. It is also for you to appreciate the value systems of the people that you're visiting as a tourist.
Education, would you take it unkindly if I say that yours is a backward county in terms of education?
In fact, education was my most important theme with respect to my politics. When I was running, I said education, education, and education, because education spurs around growth. It puts in a new culture. It develops a discipline. It builds the manpower. It illuminates a society in its totality. And I know that the most interesting maxim by Professor Ali Mazrui, the first to read, the last to graduate. I have noticed, interestingly so, that the education standards in Mombasa have continued to fall and drop below the kinds of thresholds that will make us a competitive society. And what we need to do is to now reimagine the very creed of education and lay emphasis through parentage, through tutelage, through building systems for quality education. And I think I have tried in my little stint not to regret any invitation that leads me to a school, to a prize giving, to a motivational talk. But I do believe that we need an entire program to ensure that we uplift the standards of education in our county, so that we are as competitive or even more competitive at the national and even at the global level.
The last question has to be, all these things to do, a mandate initially of 5 years, looking 5 years on, what might we expect of Senator Hassan Omar Hassan?
I had promised three major particular issues that I thought were critical in terms of adding dignity to the lives of people. And my main focus was on Article 43 of the Constitution, which is to do with basic rights. So I look forward to improving, not only the education being one of them. I talked about it already. The quality of lives in terms of decency. So we want to embark on a program of low-cost housing that will put shelter and decency and sanitation to the lives of the majority of people who live in what we call informal settlements. And the third one is issues around health. And health here is as broad as it is. The conventional healthcare that we know, and health even towards dealing with drugs as a social vice, as a health vice, drug abuse and as a security, a domain of security. So therefore, I intend to propose legislation and have facilitators through a broad network of persons and agencies to work towards the fulfillment of some of these dreams and promises that we made to the people of Mombasa.
Senator Hassan Omar. Hassan, thank you very much for coming on the
Thank you
JSO.
very much, John.